Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Yes.
Press X to Revolution episode 10. Today is October 27th, 2021. I don't know if you're listening to the audio version of this, you can't tell. But if you're watching the video version, you can tell we have a guest here. We have Elle from the channel Elliot Brooks, which is one of the best booktube channels on YouTube. And we're so blessed to be able to talk video games with her tonight. How are you doing, Elle?
I'm doing swell. I was playing Metroid before this on hard mode, and I'm annoyed at the hard mode, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
No,
I promised Alan. I promised Alan we would not talk too much about Metroid, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Talked about Metroid for an hour last time.
Oh,
it's okay. I didn't. He just said that.
He did.
How you doing, Alan?
I just put this on my Instagram stories, but I need to tell you on this.
Okay.
My ribs have been I've had a horrible pain in my ribs like the last 2 days, like they were bruised. I didn't know how it happened. But then today I realized that I was demonstrating a thing that was happening in history where they threw boulders and they jumped out of the way. And I was leaping out of the way multiple times as my kids tossed a tennis ball at me, onto the ground in my classroom. Well, one time last week when I did it, when I landed, my elbow rammed against but I don't know why it took a week for me to feel the pain of jabbing myself in the rib, but that's where it came from. And so I discovered that today, but I'm in intense pain.
Are you sure that Christina's not giving you the 1-2 in your sleep?
That's what I thought originally until they're like, oh, I did land on my freaking thing. I'm tired. I have too much. There's too much to do. There's always too much to stupid do. But
I know recently Sean, because we've been going to the gym and he kind of hurt on the assisted pull-ups. He kind of hurt his arm, his tricep, but then it was kind of delayed also, like what you're describing. So he kept doing it thinking, oh, maybe I just need to, on that machine, you need to add weight to make it easier. Right. And he's like, maybe I just need to add weight. And then he just kept doing that. And then he really kind of messed it up. So
is Sean swole now?
What was that?
Is Sean swole now?
Honestly, I tell him, I'm like, it's not fair that you just get buff so fast. I feel like it's
taking the swoller coaster to Gainesville.
But I will say when Michael, you joked about maybe Christina is just kind of hitting him in his sleep. Sean does snore a little, and I don't want to wake him up, but also I sometimes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep, so I'll just kind of lightly kick him.
See, that's nice. Amanda just full on, just boom, hits me when I start snoring. So anyway, I guess we can go ahead and we'll talk about this. What have you been playing, Alan? I'll let you go first. We want to make sure to get Alan's video game time in.
Thank goodness. So then I can just go take a nap while they talk about Metroid for the next half hour. I don't have a Switch, guys. Everyone watching, y'all know that I didn't start out anti-Switch, but Michael and frickin' Andrew forced me over the picket line into anti-Switch. I used to be indifferent to the Switch. Now I am anti-Switch.
How dare we love our Switches?
No,
so
how
much.
dare no. Anyway,
I need the history though. What did they do to push you over?
All they ever do is talk about Switch games, and then when there's huge video game news, they completely ignore stuff like God of War, Ragnarok, and they're like, "Hey, do you know that this new Mario game is coming out for the Switch?" And I'm like they don't. They only talk about Switch games. And
Half of that is true.
And then when I try to say anything, they're like, I don't get a Switch. That's it. That's what they say. They bully me. Bully me. One of them showed up at my house and freaking gave me a noogie and then took my wallet.
I have not heard the word noogie in 15 years.
I don't know. Well, then it must not have been you. It must have been Andrew. He was wearing a mask. And he gave me a noogie and said, "Get a Switch, nerd."
Did you beat Unity?
So yes, I've beaten Unity. However, I have not platted it yet. So I do one stupid co-op mission solo a day because they're horrible and they take forever. But I have to. Those are the only achievements I'm missing. Is complete every co-op.
Where's Pete? Isn't Pete supposed to be playing with you?
What?
Where's Pete? Pete said he was going to play him with you.
No. He did the one that there was only one we had to do co-op because I had to revive him and do sync assassinations. Now I can do them alone, and it's way easier. than having to coordinate. It's just freaking annoying, and I hate it because it's a terrible game. But I'm so close, so I do that. But I've mostly been playing Trails of Cold Steel, which is the weebest game since Weebs came to Weebtown. It is a part of a long-running series by Famicom, the Trails series. There was the Trails of the Sky 1, 2, and 3 that were for the Vita or the PSP, and then the Vita. Then there are 2 trails. There's Trails of Azure and Trails of Zero that are the Crossbell arc, that's the one I want to play. It's like the detective mystery solving RPGs where, because all the tech is they use these crystals to like power airships and stuff like that. And the Crossbell one, they have guns and stuff, and they're like detectives. That's the one I want, but that's the one that hasn't been brought over localized yet. Though next year, the first one's being localized, which excites me. And then there's the Trail of Cold Steel ones, which is so weeb because you're students at a military academy, and everyone's got different color hair, and everyone has different color abilities. And I spend my bonding points on my free days to hang out and increase my social link with, the swimmer girl who acts really slow in battle, but has the huge sword. So she's the powerful but slow one. And, I have to go to class and learn the history and stuff, and then make sure I remember the answers for the exams. I use a guide, so I don't have to do that. And
how Persona is it? Because it sounds a lot of Persona.
Yeah, it's very similar to Persona.
Okay.
And so it's really fun, and like it's quite fun for the PS4 version, because it was originally on Vita. They added a turbo mode, so literally I could press the left trigger,
nice,
and everything goes faster.
Is it all turn-based combat?
Yeah, it's turn-based combat, but there's placement. Like some of your abilities are attack single, some of them are area effect, and so where the enemies are and where you are in the battlefield. So it is strategic.
Isn't that similar to Persona also?
No, Persona takes place in a static field, and different abilities, like casting spells, have casting times. The more powerful the spell, the longer it takes you to cast, and you can get punched or muted while that's happening. So it is really fun. It's just as JRPG as a JRPG could possibly be. And it ends on a cliffhanger, apparently. Because
like all of them, or just one? Because you said there's 4.
1, 2, and 3, I think, are all one story. And then in 4, I think your characters come back as like teachers at the academy for like a new story. Because that's what they do. So, but I'm liking it. And that'll take me forever. So
nice.
Oh, I also downloaded Call of Cthulhu because it was like super cheap. The Call of Cthulhu, kind of
like a first person.
Yeah, kind of an adventure game. It's kind of similar to Alan Wake, at least as far as like, you walk around and explore, and there aren't a ton of enemies. So it's like an investigation Lovecraft game. It seems pretty good, and
there's a lot of enemies in Alan Wake.
Oh well, there you go.
It's like bosses even.
So that's what I'm playing. I'm playing JRPGs again. I'm the only one here that ever talks about weeb games, as Michael calls them. He's always like, no,
need you to represent. Somebody's got to represent those people.
The weebs.
Yeah,
it sounds fun.
It's very fun. But Michael hates all JRPGs, and every time I talk about one, he makes fun of me. Thank you, Elle, for being here and being such a good friend.
Hate them?
I don't hate JRPGs. I do make fun of him a lot when he talks about them. So
every time.
Alan, I have a question. I don't know if we've ever discussed this. Did you ever play any of Xenosaga?
L.
Did you short circuit?
L. Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3, or as I call them, Xenomovie 1, 2, and 3.
I know.
Xenomovie. Oh my gosh, like, yes. There was actually, when Michael and I did our top RPGs, Xenomovie was on there. I love the Xenosaga story 1, 2, and 3. I love them so much. 2 wasn't super fun to play, but the storyline that those 3 freaking things tell in, remember, Michael, it's the one that has 8 hours of cutscenes, 5 hours of cutscenes, 10 hours of cutscenes over the 3 games.
I remember. This is also another reason you need to get a Switch, because they have the Xenoblade games.
Yes, I never did play Xenoblade. That's true, but the Xenosaga games. No. I am with you. Xenosaga is amazing. I'm enraged they haven't remastered it.
I played it. Yeah, I played it so long ago, and I kind of want to go back and play it again, because I remember I think I started it over because you get to a certain point where, what are the summons called in that game? They have a specific
the freaking the mechs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, the giant
like the first game.
Well, so I remember I'm like, these things suck. I can just kill everything myself with my characters, right? But then you get to a certain point in the game where it's like you needed to have used them. Otherwise, every enemy is suddenly way too hard.
Yeah.
And I remember starting it over and trying to use them more often. And I got to the same area. It was so long ago, though. I don't remember it very well. But
The AGWS, the eggs robots, they call them. Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. The robots are terrible in the first game. At least in 2 and 3, they kind of forced you to fight with them. And like, they're like, hey, here's a bunch of bosses you can only beat with these things. Fight in this. The first one, though, it's just like, why am I going to use this piece of crap thing? Like, just use Cosmos. Just combo with Cosmos. Boom! Ziggy. Punch. Boom.
Yes. Yes.
Ziggy, protect me from albedo. Rubido.
It was very common. It's very common when you go back to old games and they will. It's like the developers had not figured out that nobody wants to play a game, get halfway or past halfway through and realize that they've already made a mistake that lets them not finish the game. Like the old point and click adventure games, we had to pick up an item. And if you used the item too early, you could never finish the game. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. I'm so glad that we've moved beyond it because
I agree.
It was just a bad idea.
Elle, how did I not know you like Xenosaga? Oh my gosh. How did I not know?
I need to find it and play, or well, they just need to like they haven't remastered them, right? Is what you said.
No, and like I check about once every quarter. I Google. I'm like, freaking Xenosaga remaster. What I just need Sony to release old games on the freaking PS5. That's all I need them to do. Is just have it be PS Now. I'll pay for it. Let me play it.
No, you know where this is headed. This conversation, right? Why did they change things in the 7 remake of Final Fantasy? Why not just literally remake the exact game, but with great graphics and like maybe an updated combat system?
That's all I wanted, Elle. That's all I wanted was a better Final Fantasy 7. Instead, I got freaking a jumbled mess by the guy whose brainchild is Kingdom Hearts. So everyone's wearing leather. There's straps aplenty. An nonsensical plot.
I will only allow people that like Kingdom Hearts to talk trash about Kingdom Hearts.
I like Kingdom
Hearts. Only
Hearts
Kingdom Hearts fans can make fun of Kingdom Hearts.
I liked Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Michael.
Yeah, what about Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, Alan?
Is that for the DS? I didn't have a DS.
I only ever played the first one. I got the extra ending, like whatever you had to do to get that extra scene or whatever at the end. I think didn't you have to like fight all the enemies in that random arena or something?
I think so. Like you had to beat all the crazy Coliseum stuff. I was never good enough to beat Sephiroth ever.
That's what I was gonna say. I was pretty sure
the sword is too long. if your sword can cover literally half of the gameplay arena, I can't beat you. I've just decided.
Michael, we talked about this before. I used to like I was an achievement hunter before there were ever achievements. Like on PlayStation 2, like I played Kingdom Hearts and I did everything. I 100%ed it, even though there were no achievements at that time. So like achievements did not predate my trophy hunter tendencies.
What does this mean? Who is Rob Liefeld? For the audio version, there's a comment that says Final Fantasy VII Remake felt like it was created by Rob Liefeld.
He's a comic book guy that did like Captain America as a zombie or something.
Uno would make a comic.
Oh, he's the guy that draws Captain America with like a chest out to here.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Another Factora says Final Fantasy VII Remake was a sequel disguised as a remake. I haven't played it, but I've played like the beginning of Final Fantasy VII probably 3 times. Did they change that much?
So
yes, it's terrible.
They have like an interesting ghost plot line.
Oh, okay.
And they show Sephiroth early.
Way early.
Immediately. Because I remember to be fair, it'd been a long time since I'd played 7, right? And that game is very
It's hard to go back to.
So when I was playing it, I was like, I don't remember Sephiroth being seen this early. I feel like everybody knew Sephiroth was in that game, but when you're playing it for the first time, you're like, so where's this Sephiroth guy? Right? Uh-huh. And so I remember when we started the remake, I couldn't recall Sephiroth appearing that early, and I think that's wrong. And it
is.
Yeah.
Because, and the first game ends with a huge battle for Sephiroth. And it's like, if you're going to make a bunch of these games, how are you going to keep raising the stakes like from this battle that we just fought at the end of part 1? It's just, okay, my problem is not just the plot. It is kind of sequely what they made it to where they could diverge or deviate from the original game's plot. They added something in there in world to where they could kind of deviate. It's like, oh, now we can change fate. And it's just like, oh, you're going to change the plot of the games. Okay. But my problem is that it wasn't fun to play. I do not like games where I cannot control my party members. The only one that is okay is, as you and I have discussed, Final Fantasy 12. Because the gambits are so specific, it's as if you were playing them anyway. Final Fantasy 7 is not like that. You're supposed to switch back and forth, and it's chaotic. It's ridiculous.
I kind of like it, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
I didn't dislike the combat really, but for me, I guess fetch quests, you could call them, like the random side quests where. So I haven't gotten all the way to the end because you get to a certain point where it's like, are you sure you want to keep going? You still have stuff to do. And I'm like, I don't feel like going and finding some kittens for like, that's literally a quest, is go find these cats. And I'm just like, do I really need to do this? But I'm worried because it's the like Final Fantasy thing embedded in my brain because they're making it episodic. I'm like, wait, if I don't do these things now, does that mean that when the next episode comes out that I'm not going to have a certain item or a certain ability later that I'm going to,
That quest is useless. Like, Michael, it feels so much like they're padding runtime, like more than anything else. Like, because the first part of the game, what?
15 did it too.
Oh, yeah. 15.
Alan has never said anything positive about 15.
I'm so sad because that one had so much potential.
It's 2/3 of a game. It's 2/3 of a game. It's missing. I
think they fixed it since then.
Yeah, they've added a ton of DLCs. You know what you should do? Release a full game. But it's also so choppy. Like 7 Remake is so choppy. You are talking to Aerith in a playground on top of one of those little like domes that kids climb on. Yep. And they're sitting there looking at the stars, whatever. And then she's like, come with me. I want to show you something. The cutscene ends. Michael, she literally moves from where you are, the far left of your box on the screen, to the far right of Elle's box on the screen. It takes you less than 2 seconds to walk there, and then you have to press a button and watch another cutscene. You could have gone ahead and just made that one cutscene. I didn't need to feel like I had control of moving Cloud 3 feet. And it happens all the time. And because of it, it feels really choppy rather than nothing flows. You'll be running around and all of a sudden you'll get in this area you're supposed to be in. And all of a sudden you can't run. All of a sudden you can only walk now. Like you can only walk on this.
I have to get this out. I hate when you have to follow people in video games.
Yes.
In Witcher, every time someone's like, follow me, and they're walking, I'm like, just run. We all know video games have everybody running all the time.
Seriously, especially when you're on Roach and you want to gallop and you're having to follow this guy on foot. Like, hurry up.
I always hate that. I remember watching, it was a video, something like the top 10 worst things about Witcher, right? Which, of course, Witcher's great, but there are some things. And they didn't, and I think we disagree about this, they didn't mention going underwater, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, going underwater in Witcher is not fun. And then the crossbow is not fun.
The crossbow works underwater.
Trying to kill the harpies. Oh my gosh.
Awful.
I hate it.
No, I agree with you. It's bad.
I love the game, but I hate those aspects.
Michael, also, it makes me sad. I always have to be like the negative Nancy. I like video games a lot. We just never actually talk about any of them that I like. We only talk about the things that I don't like.
When I say things like, "Hey, Alan, what are you playing right now?" and it just so happens that you're playing games that you hate, I say that's on you.
Assassin's Creed Unity. I'm playing Trails of Cold Steel, which is really
well. That's good. I'm glad you're playing a game that you enjoy now, and you can actually talk happily because nobody's going to talk positively about Assassin's Creed Unity on this episode.
One of the worst games I've ever played. One of the most terrible games I've ever played. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
I really agree with the comment that they hate when you have to protect somebody. Yeah.
Reading Rainbow. Yes. I
Sorry,
don't.
X Factor.
The only time that having a partner has been fun is like when they're invincible, like in Bioshock Infinite.
Bioshock Infinite.
Is great
Yes.
because like she gives you ammo and she like hands you guns and she can't die.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little bit weird narratively when you're trying to sneak
No,
around and she
don't
can like
care.
walk in front of people, but
Don't
I'll
care.
take that because it doesn't mess with the gameplay.
Correct. I do not care at all. I do
Yeah.
not give two craps. Ellie in Last of Us does a really good job of that. Your partners in Last of Us tend to be, they also can't die. So like Dina in Last of Us 2 and whoever, like whatever partners you end up having, they can't be killed either. So like every now and then, like, oh no, you got to save me. You can leave them forever. They won't actually die. So I love that. I don't care. Like it does not break any immersion. What breaks immersion for me is watching someone who's supposed to have intelligence literally just be like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, 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 we're right here," and then get shot in the face. That breaks immersion for me, rather than just some,
I feel like the new game, I feel like that trope sucked so bad that we haven't seen it in a while. Like, what's the newest game you remember seeing that in?
Having terrible AI.
No, having partners that could just die and then you lose.
Any escort mission. It's not usually the whole game. It's usually escort.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think those missions even exist anymore. I don't think people make them anymore.
That's not
I'm
true.
trying to remember the last time I
Assassin's
played.
Creed. I literally had one in this game I just played.
Well, it's Unity.
No, there's one in every Assassin's Creed that I've played.
Where they die?
Yeah, it's like protect this person, and you.
I mean, I don't want to be negative Nancy, but I've only ever crapped on Assassin's Creed on this podcast, so I would just say that's par for the course.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
The game design in Assassin's Creed is so copy paste that the fact that you're playing them all back to back is a exercise in futility.
Put games in between.
That's good. That's good.
GTA was with the historical recreation. That's really why I play it. Like I really like running around in Assassin's Creed 2.
It looks good.
Brotherhood, climbing
the cities
up the
look good. Oh yeah,
like, that was fun. The game sucks. The games all suck. But
Did you like Valhalla?
I have not played Valhalla. I'm working my way up to Valhalla.
Oh, okay.
He's only made it to Unity, which is
I'm Syndicate will be the next one I play, but Unity made me so angry. I don't know when I'm going to get to it.
So we played a little bit of oh my gosh, what's the pirate one? Sorry.
Black Flag.
Yeah, we played a little bit, but I mean, like Michael said, it's very, after a while, you're like, it's the same thing, which a lot of games are, but I feel like the thing that it misses.
Assassin's Creed really leans into the repeating mission types.
And then at some point, I feel like a lot of games, what makes them fun is that things get more and more difficult, or you start to learn new things. Like as soon as you get good at one thing, then you think you've got it under control, but then the enemies get harder, or you have a new ability you have to learn to use. And Assassin's Creed at some point is just like, here are your abilities now just like go to missions.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say that like the first couple Assassin's Creeds, like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, do that where you learn new abilities and then the opponents get harder.
Just one. Starting with Assassin's Creed 2 and moving on up through Unity, it stops being hard because anything, first of all,
but even one, it made it less fun. Like normally when you do that, that's the escalation of games. But when Assassin's Creed 1, when I played that game, it was like it would get harder, but it did not make it more fun to overcome. It just became tedious.
That's because the controls are bad. The problem with Assassin's Creed is they do not force you to stealth. And you can win any fight because you can auto kill if you parry. So you parry, auto kill, parry, auto kill. So it doesn't matter how many guys are around you, just parry, auto kill.
That has been changed in all of the modern games.
They took it out of Unity, and now it sucks because what happens is it has guys with pistols, pistols, mind you, that are freaking 100 yards away. They've got flintlock pistols, and they're shooting me with sniper-like accuracy from 100 yards away, and it does half your health. And you don't know where they are, and I got killed while doing a stupid, unskippable kill animation because it's like, look how long it's going to take to kill this guy. And a guy shot me and I died at the end of a mission.
I will take the ridiculous cutscenes where you're doing something like that and you're invincible and everyone's hacking at you, but you can't die because you're doing the animation over dying in it.
Vulnerable during it.
Yeah.
I can't roll out of it. So anyway.
I think Valhalla, I haven't played nearly as many Assassin's Creed games, but I know when we were considering, because they always look amazing. You see the trailers and you're like, maybe this one will be different. And then, you see reviews and you're like, it's the same formula. But
see, that's smart. I just kept buying them and hating them.
so Valhalla, the reason that we were convinced to get it is because we saw reviews that are like, this is the least Assassin's Creed out of all the Assassin's Creeds. And we're like, all right, well, that's actually convincing us. But we haven't played as much of it as we probably should. We got, I think you go to England, right? In that, so I think we got to England and then we haven't really played. But it's one of those games where my husband and I kind of have certain games, like it's his game and I watch, and there's games I play and he watches, and it's one of the ones that he plays, and he has a tendency to play games a little differently than me, so he ends up just running around and like getting caught up in random stuff, and sometimes the stuff is way too hard. And then he'll just die and he'll be like, and then when he goes to play it again, he'll be like, I don't know where I am. And then he'll die immediately. He'll be like, oh, that's right. But then he doesn't remember where the area was where you didn't have to be that good yet. And then he just like, gets killed a lot. I mean, he's good at games too, but it just takes so much when you don't play all the time. But the one thing I wish they would stop doing is stop pretending that this is a sci-fi interesting. Like let's just do the missions in the past in these cool, like I hate when they take you.
I thought it was interesting in the early games.
Really like the modern day.
No, stop.
Yeah, in the early games it was kind of cool, but then it just went crap crazy.
Nobody cares about that part, do they? You care.
What I mean, I did. I used to. But the thing is, that was the only the storylines suck. So the only thing that was worth it was like the modern day stuff, because it's just like. Oh. But I am cautiously optimistic about the next Assassin's Creed game, which is like, it looks like it's going to be like the last one, because it's Assassin's Creed Infinite or Infinity, to where it's going to be, rather than keep doing a new one because of the modern day stuff, because of the genetic memory thing, they're going to, as it's going to be a live service type thing, to where DLCs or expansions will be new areas. So they will be smaller, but rather than making a new one, they'll just, okay, now we've unlocked, this area. Kind of like WoW, I guess, where it's like, oh, look, new zones type thing. So they'll be able to do a bunch of different time periods, because all I want them to do is what they should have done, what everyone should have done before Ghost of Tsushima got there, and freaking do one in Japan. Freaking do one in Japan.
I need to say, I've been trying so hard to not bring it up, because I talk smack to you. But I wanted to say earlier, I love in the Honest trailer that they mentioned that, the Honest trailer for Ghost, where they're like, it's Assassin's Creed in Japan, except for better.
It is. Oh, it's way more fun. Yeah.
It's so good. But yeah, on the topic, this is another reason I wanted to bring it up, is you talked about how Assassin's Creed, you really don't have to be an assassin. I feel like in Ghost, they tell you can be honorable and more like a samurai and face your enemies head on and announce your presence, or you can be an assassin. And I'm like, why would anybody choose to just announce their presence all the time? It's not, I feel like nobody ever goes that route.
My buddy does that because he loves standoffs. He loves standoffs. He's like, I just charge in and say, come on. And they score like 15 guys.
I like using the darts.
Same. I am definitely a dishonorable ghost.
Yes. And so did you know, maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that it gets stormier and generally like the weather is darker and whatnot if you are an assassin more often.
I did not know.
That's what I heard. And if you're a samurai, it's like sunnier and nicer.
Awesome. I did not know
maybe that's false, but that's what I think I read somewhere. Because I'm like, what? There's no real, it's not like you get a different outcome. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a couple moments in the game where you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
But really it's not like, what is that game? There was an old game, I think, called The Way of the Samurai or something. Or is that a movie? Is that the movie?
Oh, there is a game called that, I think.
I can tell you the cover. It's somebody facing another direction.
It's like PS2 era.
Game. It's a PS2 game.
Yeah.
You have the shadow of the samurai facing the other way. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that game, I remember all sorts of different decisions affected the outcome. I remember really liking that game, but it's really long. And I bought my PlayStation 2 stopped working. So I bought another PlayStation 2 pretty much.
System. And
like that was a game I bought for it because I really want to go back and play it. But have you ever gone back to play some of your favorite old games and you're like, oh man, this is not fun?
Especially in like the PS2 Xbox era.
I began to emulate before I started BookTube, I began to emulate Xenosaga 1, and it was just as good as I remembered it.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
What era is that? PS1?
PS2.
Okay.
I mean, the graphics are PS2 graphics, but I mean,
but JRPGs don't. Well,
that's true.
I feel like JRPGs they just don't require the graphics all the time.
Back then,
I will say it's hard to go
not.
back to 7, like Final Fantasy 7 now, because the graphics are so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you reach a certain point,
PS1 is hard. Yeah. PS1 is hard for sure.
JRPGs once they got to PlayStation 2, and if you two feel differently, but I feel like the graphics did get really good, and then I kind of became a graphics snob because I've said this before, the first game I played on PlayStation 2 was Final Fantasy X, and I was so blown away. And then everything after that, I'm like, these graphics kind of suck.
Yeah.
Michael.
Like my favorite games on the PlayStation 2, like a lot of them were licensed games, like the Lord of the Rings games.
Oh, okay.
And those games look atrocious today, like because they're not stylized at all. They tried to be realistic. Like things like even like the first Kingdom Hearts, which was very cartoon looking, that looks great still. But anything that tried to go for like realism looks awful.
Tense cut scenes. So like I always called them as a kid realistic mode. The realistic mode scenes, those look great, but the regular scenes obviously are not amazing.
Well, most JRPGs were stylized, which is probably why they hold their they don't look as terrible when you go back and play them on PS2.
7 does look bad.
Yeah, it's because they try to do those cinematic shots where they zoom all the way out, so Cloud is literally like 5 polygons. You're like, oh wow, this is very hard to see what I'm doing.
Going back to PS1 is rough.
Yes,
rough.
And I not gonna lie, maybe I'm just lazy, but I hate the lack of voice acting in older games.
You know, I can't decide, because sometimes if there's gonna be a lot of it, sometimes I like that I can just read it really quick. And even in modern games, like in the remakes or the re-releases of the Nonary, what's the Nonary game series? Zero Escape.
It's called the Nonary game. Zero Escape.
Zero Escape. So the Zero Escape games, a lot of times I'll just skip the dialogue because I read way faster than those people talk. They talk very slowly. So I like that sometimes, but also sometimes I just want to sit back and listen. It depends.
Also, sometimes the English voice actors are not of high quality.
Well, and sometimes if you're playing VLR, the characters talk way too much, and there's so much dialogue in that game. Oh my goodness.
There's so much there is so much dialogue in Cold Steel, but one of the things that I don't normally do in JRPGs is talk to everybody multiple times. But in this academy, in this town, every time passes, everyone has something new to say, and it's actually interesting. Like there's like a little love story playing out between these two students that every time I check in, like, oh, she asked him out and he said no or whatever. And then like this woman is getting sick of her husband. Every time he comes home, he just demands like dinner immediately on the table. And it's just like, it's actually real. That happens very rarely in RPGs, but I'm actually invested in, these people in this town because they have something new every single time passes, but it also makes it take forever because I'm like, oh, it's evening. I got to go talk to everybody again.
I think at some point I would be like, I don't care. But Sean would be like, let's see what's going on with the
Yes, Sean, I got you, Sean.
Now, because, we briefly brought up Ghost, I'm just curious an update as to when we're going to play Legends together.
My buddy, who is giving me the game, decided, he's like, I am not freaking playing on New Game Plus I'm not doing the whole New Game Plus to get 1 bronze trophy. And then he started playing New Game Plus. I'm like, what are you doing? So as soon as he's done, he's going to send it to me. And then once I have it, we will play. And I won't even practice. We'll go into one thing so that you can flex and be like, Alan, look how terrible you did.
Well,
okay, that's fine. And then I will train. I'll have a training montage.
Okay.
And then I'll defeat you.
I look forward to the training montage. You have to record clips of you playing over the course of a couple of weeks and then put cool motivational music over it.
I need to record clips of me playing with you and dying repeatedly and you being like, Alan, stop. Alan, you suck. Alan, just repeatedly over like a month. And then I just put that all in a video until I get good.
So you'll see when you play, but you can't even try the harder, because I like doing the survival mode, and you can't even do the more difficult ones until you're leveled up.
Do you see her gatekeeping me right now, Michael?
What?
Do you see her gatekeeping me right now? Telling me
I'm
I'm
not.
not good enough to play the upper levels?
I'm just telling you that's how it is in the game. I'll play on the other one with you for sure. But what I'm saying is you probably won't even die because
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
yeah, you're good enough at it. So I'm sure you've seen, but you have to pick a class.
Yeah.
Yeah, which class are you gonna pick?
I don't actually know yet. I haven't looked into them. What should I be? What's fun? I want to be archer. Can I be archer?
Yeah, that's what I am.
Oh,
Archer's fun. But I will say the secret underdog is the Ronins. Gotta say, you wouldn't think it.
really?
Yep,
Alright.
because they get these cool bombs that sort of because I guess you call them bosses within the survival modes are the Oni, and the bombs that the Ronins have kind of stun them.
Oh, cool.
And they seem to have them all the time. And
Yeah.
then they have moves that can bring everybody back if you fall. So then you're like the champion of the group because
Oh.
if everybody else dies.
I, being the people's champion, should probably play Ronin then.
And when you look at the leaderboards, I feel like Assassin's obviously the worst when playing survival because you're not gonna hide really. So like you can go invisible.
I suck at stealth. Everyone sees me all the time.
Okay. So you wouldn't want to do that one anyway.
No, I'm terrible at it.
You can get quite good with samurai. There's some cool abilities. That's what Sean likes to play.
Mhm.
But man, being an archer is pretty fun because your move can kill 5 people at once. Sorry, Michael, if this is boring, but your move can kill 5 people at once. And then I have once you play enough, you can get really cool weapons. And I have a weapon called the skipping stone bow, which if you're an archer, you'll get that at some point. And the skipping stone is every headshot you get, there's a chance of it like it'll ricochet
That's awesome.
another person. So your ultimate that hits 5 people can obviously hit if there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, awesome. And it's super satisfying when you see a whole bunch of people. And anyway, it's so fun, Michael. We need to play.
I suck at stealth. Like in Assassin's Creed Unity, I don't even try to stealth anymore. I literally charge into the building, try to fight off the 20 guys that are on my jock, and then I loot the treasure chest.
Maybe you would like being a samurai.
Charging in. If I can charge in and kill a bunch of guys, I'm totally good with it.
Okay, you should try samurai because Sean, he's gotten it too where there's you can do the fire master ability, which you get your sword on fire like how Jin can in the game. But then Sean has this ability where you can if you're using I think a strong attack, then it can light other people on fire too. And then he's gotten it where I think his fire damage does even more. Awesome. So then he's just lighting everybody on fire all the time, which is pretty fun.
Well, y'all should talk about Metroid because I am satisfied that I got to talk about weeb stuff.
Yeah, El, what have you been playing?
Here and likes weeb stuff, unlike Michael.
I never said I hate weeb stuff all the time. I just like to make fun of you.
So mean, Michael. Y'all heard it here first. Michael's mean-spirited.
I'm not usually one to feel the need to get all the trophies or 100% games, but that game I was determined. Because it's not really like random, quests. It's trying to get all the items, which do make fighting the final boss, a little easier. Although the final boss,
they were not that necessary, though.
No, they're not. It's just to say you did it. I mean,
how do you remember your completion time when you beat the boss?
Yeah, it was probably a while because I went and got all the items and tried. Did
you do 100% before you fought the boss?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to see the comparison between the two. Okay, then
what was yours?
Yeah, I mean, mine was like 7.5 hours.
Oh, yeah, mine was so much longer, but also.
But I was like 30% item completion. But I didn't need them. That's kind of the thing was like I never needed them, so I didn't feel like I had to go back because I don't think you missed any real powers, right? It's just extra armor and extra rockets. Yep. So I was like, I didn't really feel the need to go back. I'm glad I didn't. I went straight into hard mode, which I have not finished yet either.
See, but I'm not enjoying hard mode, I gotta say. Because I mean, obviously, it's part of what's fun about the game is it's gonna sound kind of silly, but the literal movement is satisfying.
Yeah.
And when you can get hit so hard by easy enemies, I'm like, I get hit twice and I'm dead, and it's frustrating.
I heard somewhere the only change for hard mode is you take 4 times as much damage. That's the only difference.
I do not find that fun at all.
I have only found it to be hard during the boss fights which I feel like during the boss fights, those are the moves that you should be able to dodge because the bosses always have the patterns. So for me, I was still enjoying it because most of the regular enemies are going to kill you. If you parry them, you get your health back. But if you are fighting a boss, you can only take like one hit. But also, those are the ones that I enjoyed memorizing the boss patterns. It sounded like when you played, that was some of your frustration was you didn't enjoy that as much.
No, I did. It depended on the boss. So,
Okay.
the one, like the final boss, so
Yeah.
fun.
Yes.
I thought, because you get to a point. I remember telling you, "Oh, I watched somebody who did it and they didn't even get hit."
Mm-hmm.
And then when I played it, I was like, you know what? One of these days, I want to try to not get hit at all. You know what I mean? Because it's actually very doable. But the one stupid bug boss that I just hated.
So I've heard multiple complaints about that. Is that the one that does like the wind attack where you have to run and do the what's the double jump called? It's like a moon bounce or something.
I just call it double jump.
Okay, the double jump. Is that the one where you have to like do the double jump between the patterns like Flappy Bird?
No,
or something?
no, not that one. That's like the big tentacle thing, right? I'm talking about
yes,
literally
yes.
there's a stupid purple beetle bug thing. It's like not that big, but there's certain moves. Maybe I think we're not.
Oh, is it like semi near the end of the game?
Semi near.
I remember that one.
I hated that one. It was so frustrating. So, Alan, I don't know if you do someday play Metroid. I was telling Michael, I always found the most efficient ways to kill things that weren't necessarily probably the way that you were supposed to. And it was very fun. And I'm curious if you would end up playing the game similarly, because you can sequence break in that game.
Yeah.
So I would do that because I'm like, I don't actually feel like doing this. I'm going to go get newer abilities and then
Elle found out ways to play smarter, not harder on like every single boss. And there are bosses that I struggled against so hard. And then she told me about, and then I found videos of people doing the same thing. And it made them nearly trivial. And it made me wonder what I was doing with my life when I just fought them the hardest possible way you could.
But I was over here though, spending hours trying to get, and I'll tell you what it was. So Alan, I literally messaged Michael. We had talked about how much we were loving the game. And then I went to try to get 100% completion, which requires you to do this thing called Shine Spark. Mm-hmm. And I messaged him, I don't like this game anymore. Like I was telling him, I do still have a criticism, or will say, but now that I've done it, I'm like all proud of myself. So I'm like, oh, it was actually really cool. But the Shine Spark puzzles require such ridiculous perfection in the timing of everything, like to another level. But so the description of how to use the Shine Spark does not tell you what you need to know to do some of these puzzles.
No, it's like the first time you learn the Shine Spark move or whatever, and then you walk into the next room and there's a block that you need to break, and there's no way you can break it with what they've taught you. Like, how am I supposed to even get over there with this power? So, it's because evidently you can like charge it and hold it.
So, okay, that's what I want to explain. So, not explain like, here's why you don't understand, but to kind of elaborate on what is frustrating. So, the jump button is B, right? I think I'm not used to Switch. It's the first game I've played on a Switch, which I think
Switch is okay. So real quick, Switch is so weird with its controls because you can play with the Joy-Con or whatever. That very frequently the buttons are just referred to as the bottom one, the left one, the right one, or the top one.
Gosh.
So for the whatever button it is that you use to jump is also the same button you use when you do your like you start to sprint essentially, and you're like building up speed, and then you push that button so that she holds in essentially the speed, and then you can burst through sections. But sometimes in some of the Shine Spark puzzles, you need to mid-air push the button so that you'll burst through the certain section, except for it's the same button as jump. And it's like for the longest time,
and you can't remap controls.
The tutorial tells you to press down to do that.
So that's another aspect. So that's to I'll clarify. So the down is what like will start it, and then you press B to actually use it, is what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
So you'd press down on the L. I always think I refer to things in PlayStation, so like the analog stick.
Sure.
Yeah. So L3, I'll call it. So yeah,
Yeah.
you press that to, I always say turn her purple, and then you
Mhm.
press, I think, B to get her to actually, burst, is how I'll refer to it. But sometimes you need to push the down button before and then do stuff and then press B, except for B is also jump. And so I was like, I don't understand, how am I supposed to distinguish the difference? And then I read someone online said, make sure you take your finger, if you're mid-air, take your finger off the analog stick and then press. You still need to like
Oh my
shoot
word.
or something to get her to like stop for a second and then press B. And I'm like, how? And then another thing, because you probably noticed this too, Michael, in the one I sent you, the video I sent you, I'm like, look how ridiculous this is. You also, they don't tell you this, you can use that. And then as long as there's a slope and you start going up, it will restart it, which it never tells you that. And it doesn't do
Oh my
it just going
goodness.
straight. And
Well,
then the last thing they don't tell you is, you know how you can kind of like wall jump?
yeah.
They don't tell you that when you're sprinting before you've turned purple, you can like ricochet off the walls, but you have to wait a sec and then push it. Otherwise, she loses the momentum because you can't change direction before you turn purple.
Alan,
Anyway,
this is worse. Alan, this is worse than you're thinking, because the one that she sent me required like 8 different screens worth of perfect input. Like 8
Okay.
different screens worth.
The other thing too is, in order to even get her
Get an extra rocket.
in order to even get her to start doing this, you need to run a certain distance. And this one I sent Michael, which took me so long, they barely give you enough room to do it, right? And that's just the beginning. So you have to turn purple, as I keep calling it, right before, and then you have to go down and you have to open another door, and then she falls. And then I know, right? It's so frustrating. Sorry, the audio, the people that just listen, is a great comment about Alan's face right now. And then you have to like jump up through this thing, and then which, by the way, you gotta hope she doesn't turn into a morph ball, because whenever she goes through something narrow, sometimes she automatically turns into the morph ball. So she'll go down, then there's these blocks, and you have to shoot the blocks, and then you got to do the shine spark midair, and then kind of go toward a slope, which will restart it. And then you go into a new room, which of course that kind of throws off your timing. And then you have to start it. You have to turn purple again. You got to go under something, drop. And then if anybody has done this one, they know which one I'm talking about. You drop, and then technically there's like 2 different ways to do it from here. But basically, shine spark again toward another slope, go over, turn purple again, go down, and then you go through.
And
Man.
the reward for doing this is literally just some extra rockets you don't need.
You guys are making me want to play this game really
Now,
bad.
well, here's what I'll say though. I was loving this game, and then I got frustrated you don't have to do any of this, right? But Alan, I know you're like me.
I
And
have to.
The
Yes, I
shine
do.
spark move you earn fairly on in the game, and I believe that you were required to use it twice in the whole game.
Yeah.
Like you basically never use it, and when you do use it, it's just you sprint and run through a wall, and that's the only time you ever have to use it, which is why it's kind of crazy that they require you to do this to get all the items. The reward is 100%. It's not worth it for me. I don't care about those rockets.
It wasn't, but I really liked being able to say that I did it, Plus, it is pretty, actually, you know what? I need to go back for a second. So before I really understood, because they don't tell you, and you kind of have to look up online, what am I doing wrong? Because every time I try to push this, she just loses her whatever, right? So it bothers me that they don't really give you the instructions. So the first couple of really difficult Shine Spark puzzles I got, when I got them, I wasn't satisfied, because I was like, I don't even know what I did differently that time.
Mhm.
I just kept trying. And then once I kind of understood, then I could do it. But I was ranting to Sean about, I'm like, you know what? I feel like
It feels like it's just second completely different metagame on top of this regular game where you basically never do that move.
Yeah, I saw a comment that was saying these are the real ultimate boss fights of this game. And they are.
Oh my goodness.
The end boss is not that bad.
It was your punishment for finding ways to cheese the bosses that killed me like 20 times.
I did find ways. I found easier ways to do, because there's the one, I say Kataris, apparently it's Cataris, but that sounds like cataracts to me, so I'm gonna say Kataris.
I still don't know what that is.
It's the like lava one. It has the satisfying brass music in it. It's the one where I always call them planets. So they're not planets. The new map area that's got all the kind of like lava that for a long time.
Oh, the one with like the crazy cutscenes where it's like climbing on stuff, like how tall buildings.
What in Metroid?
Yeah.
It's
What
the
is
one.
the thing you said?
It's
I'll
the second
Google it.
one you go to. It's where you fight Kraid.
It's not Kraid?
What? The place is it's spelled with a C. It's the very second place you go.
Okay.
It's
Keep
spelled
going. Just keep going.
Okay. There's a Shine Spark puzzle in that section too. And everybody was saying they thought it was one of the hardest ones. And I feel like I found sort of a cheat. And I'm sure somebody's done it the way I did it too. Because I was like, I don't want to do it the way that people are telling me to.
Oh, that's a place. For some reason, I thought you were describing a boss. The place with the place with all the heat stuff. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I almost wish I could just find. There was, you know what? There was one person I don't know their channel name, but it'll be one of the first ones. When you're doing the Shine Spark puzzles, if you specifically search Shine Sparks for various different sections of the maps, like if you set all the Shine Sparks in Berenia, there's this one person. Excuse me, not Shine Sparks. All the items in the area. There's this one channel where they show you how to do all of those, but at the very beginning of the video, they'll show you on the map where all of them are, and he numbers them. And then in the description bar, he has timestamps for every single one. It makes it very convenient when you're like, I just need to know how to do this one. And then you can find it on the map. So I don't know the channel, but it's one of the first ones that and he shows the map at the very beginning.
Do you remember the total number of max rockets you could get in the game?
I think 200 something.
Holy crap. That's so many.
I know.
There's no reason for them.
We just made a Discord for our Latin club at school, so we can just, it's just easier. Remind 101 sucks. And these children have discovered the bot that makes GIFs of me.
Yeah.
And so this Discord is now exploding with Walker GIFs, and they're like, "What?" And now it's literally like recursion. Now the freaking like technology's out of the bag, and now they're all like, "How do I invite it to my server?"
Exactly.
It's everywhere.
I know.
That's why recursion is real life.
Alan, you have so many GIFs on. Was it Twitter?
Yeah, it's on Tenor now. On Tenor,
it's on everywhere now.
Oh, I am scared to look for if I have any, which I'm sure I don't want to find them. I don't know if it's just having, been on YouTube for a while at this point. And also sort of, it always seems like a juxtaposition where I'm on YouTube, but also social media is not my favorite and I'm introverted. So it's
but you are a professional YouTuber. You could say that.
I was, at some event this last weekend and I was talking to somebody, they're like, what do you do? And I was like, I make videos. And they're like, you sound really sad about it. And I'm like, no, I'm really grateful for the opportunity. But anyway, so where was I going? Oh, I know where I was going with this. So sometimes when I want to link in the description bar a review for a book I mentioned in a video or something. I know you can search within your own channel for videos, but sometimes just really fast, I'll just type in the YouTube search. And I always don't look at what pops up because I'm just always nervous that there's going to be something like
hit piece. You think somebody's going to? Why would somebody do that? That would be so bad.
Not a hit piece, but I remember. I don't know if you guys know what guru gossip is, but Alan's heard this before. But I remember I wasn't even searching anything. I don't search myself or anything, but I remember.
Oh, that weird forum.
Yeah.
My favorite thing ever is but my favorite thing in relation to guru gossip is the Urban Dictionary definition of it, because whoever made this Urban Dictionary definition hates them. And it's really funny. I'll have to find it in a second. But anyway, I was trying to find, Michael, I sometimes find silly articles and then react to them and stuff. And then it brought up guru gossip and me, and they were just saying really mean things. And I was like, wow, okay, well, that bummed me out. And then I don't, it's one thing to know everybody says like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. It's okay that some people don't like me. But then
you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, when you see people. So anyway, and then there was one thing which really wasn't a big deal, but it still was just so strange to me that I a while back made a video about the like, should there be a new adult age category between YA and adult, right? Which is a conversation that people have had. And I said multiple times in that video, sorry for the tangent here, this is not game related, but I said
you're the guest, you take over.
I said several times, I'm not saying that, young people shouldn't be exposed to XYZ violence or sexual content or what. I'm not saying like that that they're not allowed to or they shouldn't look at it. I was saying, but I think when people think young adult, they have this idea that there's a certain level that's not going to be crossed.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And so I think
I even agree.
When that level is crossed, it's like, I think sometimes surprising for parents or even, whether
even readers, definitely.
Yeah, whether you're an adult who likes to read younger stuff because maybe you don't want to read that content, or if you're a young person and you yourself don't want to read that content, it's not even just like a parent thing.
Sure.
But either way, it's like, I'm sorry to keep saying like, but the point I was making is, what really is the distinguishing factor aside from age of the characters or whatever. Yeah. But as far as the content goes, at some point, is it literally just the main character typically is younger, or
no, it's whether or not a bunch of people are doing it.
You mean A Court of Thorns and Roses
it's not young adult. It's not.
Okay, so where I'm going with all of this is I saw at one point somebody made a reaction video to that where they were basically saying we need to stop. They reacted to that, and their main point was just, I saw in the description bar, it said something like moral of the story, stop trying to like limit what young people are exposed to.
So you're gatekeeping, yeah.
And I was like, that's not what I said. Like, I tried so many times to make clear it's, up to the individual, it's up to the parent, but it's kind of like a nutrition label on something, to let you know. Sure. We don't really have that for books, and an age range sort of is that. But anyway, and then that weirded me out too. And so now I just, when I type, a book review, like the whatever, Ninth Reign, and I'm like, don't look at what pops up.
That's great.
I don't know why I got on that side tangent.
Michael doesn't let us talk about books on this one.
I know what it was. It was you talking about the gifts of yourself.
Oh yeah.
And I don't even want to see. I'm sure I would be very embarrassed by them.
I'll find some for you, Alan. Send them your way.
Oh, thank you.
do you guys want to play a video game?
Yeah.
Sure.
Please,
so I still called it the ESRB ratings game, but so the theme this week is 15 years ago, October. Last time we did 10 years ago. So this one's older. Because these are so old, the ASRB didn't even write descriptions of the game. They would like label them and say what was in the game, but usually they write like a couple paragraphs about what types of content we're going to see. So I've tried to edit some of the Wikipedia entries so that these are not too specific, but also there's clues in there. Okay, we'll see if you guys are able to beat the chat.
I want to ask, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Michael?
I am 30.
Okay.
You're only 30?
How old did you think I was? Am I some kind of grandpa to you, Alan?
No, I thought you were less than 35, but older than 30 even.
No, I'm 30 even.
How old are you, Al? You're 29? Aren't you about to be 30?
28.
Okay, I thought we were like super close. So yeah, it should be fine. So
I'm 39, y'all.
These are all games that came out, what is that, 2006? So it was like my first year of high school, I think. That makes sense.
I'm in my 6th year of college.
One of the things that I noticed, because I like to research this stuff and find out stuff. One of the things I noticed when researching the games for this week is in 2006, especially in October of 2006, licensed games were coming out all over the place. Like everything was just licensed properties everywhere, which we're starting to see some of that come back, but they're good now. Like I feel like Spider-Man's good. I've heard the Guardians of the Galaxy game is okay. The Avengers game, not so much, but like you get a lot of licensed properties that people put money into and time into, and they're half decent. A lot of the games that I was reading about looked like hot trash just because they were the throw in, like it was like one of the ones that I thought was ironic, because we just had that recent Nickelodeon platform fighter come out. There was a Nickelodeon platform fighter that came out 15 years ago for whatever console back then. Anyway,
I want to hear. I'm excited for this.
Let's play this game, Michael.
what? Oh, we're gonna play the game. All right, see if you guys can beat the chat.
Okay.
The first game is rated teen for language, mild violence, sexual themes, simulated gambling, which is one I don't always see very often, and use of drugs. This game is a life simulation adventure game developed by Liquid Entertainment and released by Buena Vista Games in 2006 in the style of The Sims video games. It is a licensed property based on a television series,
The Simpsons.
The main character is a woman with amnesia who recently moved with her husband and son to Wisteria Lane. The plot takes place over 12 episodes.
Desperate Housewives?
It's a Desperate Housewives video game.
Oh
Did
my
you Google
gosh.
Wisteria Lane, or did you just know that? I need to know, Alan.
I do not remember that.
Did
I don't
you
remember that.
do you recognize the name of the town or this
I
place?
recognize Wisteria Lane, yeah.
Are you a Desperate Housewives fan?
No, I was really up on pop culture back in the day. Like, I mean, I watched a ton of TV, but I did not, because I wasn't reading at this time. Like, during that time was my, the black years of reading. So I watched a bunch of TV instead.
Yeah, the game evidently featured a script by one of the writers for Desperate Housewives and was voice acted by one of the main actresses, which, like, I don't know. I feel like, was it Desperate Housewives? Was that just like a PG-13 show, or like,
Yeah,
I thought it was more mature.
It was more mature for the time.
Okay.
Now it would look like, a Disney Channel show.
I remember asking my dad about Marilyn Monroe, because my dad was a lot older, right, for having a daughter my age. And I was like, was she really that? Because, she's kind of like a famous, sensual icon. And I was like, was she like, was it surprising back in the day? Was she risque? And he's like, honestly, to today's standards, she's a nun. Like
Things have changed.
Things have changed. Yeah.
All right, let's see. I wrote a lot about this game, but I bet somebody will guess it before we finish it. Let's see. I forgot what I was going to say before this one. All right, let's see if we guess it.
Any of these?
I feel like probably they're not. That was the most obscure one, I think.
Okay.
By far. I just thought it was hilarious. I had to pick one of the licensed games, and I thought that one would be fun.
I feel like we need to play it sometime. Right?
I have a problem because the last time I played The Sims, I watched 10 hours disappear and didn't know how. And then I was very confused, and I said I wouldn't play The Sims anymore. Like, I went to work, I came home, I worked in my house, and I looked at the clock, and I had disappeared. Most games don't do that to me, even ones I love. And I was like, I don't even know what I did. I just did real life stuff. And now I have to go to bed.
Alan, did you ever play Sims?
No, I never got into it. Those games, I have analysis paralysis. There's too much to do, and so I don't do anything.
Yeah,
Christina loves The Sims. She's playing The Sims right now in the other room.
So the reason I was curious was because what you were describing about the one JRPG where you check in, that's kind of sim-like, because you invite someone over and they're having conversation and you're like, wait, why is this person getting so tense right now?
I would never make it past the house creation, ever. I would just be like, I don't know what I want.
Wouldn't even make it past the character creation.
Oh, character creation already takes me. Like, sometimes I'll get a brand new game and, I only have a little bit to play every night. And, you got to wait to install it. It's better on the PS5, but you wait to install it. And then by the time I'm done, like, character creating and heavens forfend class and like stat and ability choosing, it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to bed. So,
yeah.
All right, here we go. This is game number 2. This one also, afterwards, I got to talk about some weird video game stuff that used to exist that doesn't happen anymore. Okay. All right, this game is rated M for blood, language, and violence. It's pretty normal. This game consists of 2 action-adventure stealth video games developed and published by Ubisoft. It was released for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox.
No.
Do you know which one?
Splinter Cell, no.
I'll keep going. A PlayStation 3 version was released in March 2007. There's 2 separate versions of this one. One was made by Ubisoft Milan, and Ubisoft Shanghai made the other one. Let's see. You already know it's a Splinter Cell game. Let's see.
I don't know which one. I just know that's a stealth game by Ubisoft.
Okay, so
Those.
I'll go say it's Double Agent. So I love Splinter Cell Conviction. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But I did not play the older ones. But this reminded me of a time in history where the consoles were so different, because now they're both just PCs and nobody like talks about how different they are. I'm gonna give Factorial the credit because I think he got that before we got there.
Yeah.
But the thing about this game, or the thing about games at that time, was if you wanted to make a third-party game, they were often so different that if you would play the PlayStation version and the GameCube version, they would be completely different games.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, it doesn't even have the same story. They use some of the same plot lines and some of the same cutscenes. But because the consoles were so different, these are actually two different games with the same name. And that was such a weird time in history, because now everything is the same.
I only played the first Splinter Cell. I didn't like it as much as Metal Gear, and those were kind of the competing properties at the time.
And it wasn't weeb enough for you?
It definitely... Look... There is nothing too weeb for Hideo Kojima. Nothing.
That's true.
What if Hideo Kojima and Blake Crouch teamed up to make a game?
Well, it'd be weird because like Blake Crouch makes fast things, and it seems like everything Hideo Kojima does is like way too long. It just like way overstays its welcome. There we go. The great debate: Genesis versus SNES versions of Aladdin. I don't know if you played those.
They were very different.
The Genesis version is better. The Genesis version was better of like Toy Story and Mortal Kombat. The Genesis version was always better. I'm a Nintendo fanboy, but the Genesis was just a more powerful system. Game number 3. This one was rated teen for violence and mild language. This is another licensed property. It's a 2006 action role-playing video game developed by Ravensoft for the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox, and Xbox 360. It was published by Activision. It was set in the fictional licensed universe and has many characters from that series. Let's see. It shares many similarities with Raven Software's previous titles in the same universe, but that one had different characters. You select teams of 4. There are more than 22 playable characters in all, but you have to unlock them by playing through the game. You can create your own teams, and when you recreate famous teams that exist within this universe's lore, there are bonuses. There are alternate endings.
X-Men Ultimate Alliance.
Very, very close. You combined 2 different games titles.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate Alliance, right. It was the sequel to the X-Men, whatever those were called.
Right?
X-Men Legends and Legends 2, yes.
Did you ever play Ultimate Alliance, Al, on your PS2? That was a fun game. Did you ever play it?
I have, yes.
Yeah, you would play superheroes, and it's like a top-down action RPG, kind of like Gauntlet, I guess.
Diablo Light.
Yeah, and each hero had different powers, and you would, like, if you created actual like teams that work together in the comics, they would be buffed. That was a fun game, and I don't like licensed properties in general.
X-Men Legends was also very good.
I don't like X-Men.
What the frick?
I don't like the X-Men.
Why is it every time we record one of these podcasts, you say something that just like destroys my reality?
Because I don't like the
Have you played the Injustice games?
I played the first one, Al. That's so good. I love the first Injustice.
The second one's fun. I don't like the basically super moves. I forget what they're called.
Right?
Well, they're not fatalities, are they?
The ones like you can buzz people through.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can turn those off though, can't you?
Yes, and I think that's much more fun. But I gotta say, pretty much any fighting game that has too much going on frustrates me, because I like being able to be good at the timing of the combat, and I hate when it's like this random item fell from the sky that you can use all of a sudden.
You're just criticizing Smash Brothers at this point.
That's exactly. I remember as a kid loving video games and having a couple of friends whose houses they loved Smash Brothers, and I'd sit there like, can we just play Tekken?
Yeah, I bet you played Eddie Gordo. And I bet you just like mashed.
Why would you think that? Really? You think I would play Eddie Gordo?
No, because I accuse anybody who I know first meet that plays Tekken of playing Eddie Gordo, because Eddie Gordo was literally the button mash machine.
Yeah, that's the old Dane Cook joke. Did you ever watch any a comedy?
Holy
throwback?
crap! I forgot Dane Cook talked about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, y'all remember the Dane Cook era? Michael, do you remember Dane Cook?
I don't.
Really,
Oh.
Michael? Dane Cook would have been right up your alley if you were just a little older. Like
Did
you would have
you-
loved Dane Cook.
Did you
Is he dead?
No, he's just
No.
doesn't do comedy anymore. It's not good, but
Okay.
for a time it was really
he
popular.
was like the guy for a while. But did you? I'm sure I feel silly asking this question, but you guys have seen Zoolander, right?
I have not.
What? Oh, anyway, when
Blue Steel.
he's like they're breakdance fighting, it always made me think of Eddie Gordo.
Freaking Eddie. Who did you use in Tekken?
June, and because it was her son, Jin, I just felt like it was a good combo.
Of course you used Jin. I love Jin Kazama. Jin Kazama. Jin, and I use Jin and Paul Phoenix
Did you
with
do this-
the super punch.
What
Yeah,
kind of name is Paul Phoenix?
And
It's
his
a ridiculous
his
name.
hair
Oh, yeah.
stood straight up like a chef's hat.
Yes, his hair. This is mohawk, kinda. I
Paul
So,
Phoenix.
my sister would play Nina, and I would get so mad because Nina is just faster, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, have you seen Michael? Have you seen Samus without her suit? The look that she has,
Yeah, like
because
Zero
it's
Suit.
really weirdly similar to Nina from Tekken.
Does
Oh,
look
okay.
a lot like Nina Williams. It does.
A certain Nina. There's a Nina in which Tekken is it? Tekken 5 or 4? One of her outfits in one of those is so similar to Samus.
Let's see,
Anyway,
Tekken.
the
I'm
bowling. I wasn't sure what that was on my computer because
Oh yeah. Is
the
Tekken
bowling
bowling a
game.
game or is it a mini game inside one of the Tekken
Yeah.
I
games?
think
It's a
he's
mini
saying.
game.
Oh, okay.
It's in I think Tekken Tag. I think it's the mini
I did
game.
not play Tekken Tag.
Oh, Tekken Tag was the best. That's why I said I would combine June and Jin because it'd be like a mother son.
Oh, I loved Tekken 3.
3 was good.
3 was really good. And then I played 4 and 5.
6 is where they lost it.
I didn't play 6.
Yep, I tried. I'm like, what is even happening? But I really liked when you would go up against I'm gonna mix them up. In my head, I want to say the Shinra Corporation, which isn't right. What's the bad corporation called in Tekken?
It's not Shinra because that's
I know, but anyway, I remember when you would go and fight that, and you would get chicken randomly to get your health back, and they would say chicken in a really deep voice. They're like chicken, and it was great. I don't know why. Sometimes you would just come across a whole chicken, and that you just had to go over it and get.
Yeah, they do that in Castlevania also. Is it a Konami game?
Yes.
Okay, that checks.
Okay, that makes sense. How are the Castlevania games? Because
Nope. Sorry, it's Namco. My bad.
Okay.
I enjoyed the show. I mean,
You should play. Okay, so if you want to play Castlevania, and you like Metroid Dread, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the most updated version, or a new game that came out recently, Bloodstained. It's called Bloodstained,
Yeah.
and it is literally a sequel to Symphony of the Night by I think the people who did Symphony of the Night, but it's not Castlevania.
It was the original creator.
Yeah.
He left.
But it's
to make
not
his own game.
Castlevania. So those are the two games I recommend
okay.
if you want to play a Castlevania. The
There's
later
also-
ones just aren't good. Like they're just not. I played a lot of them. They're just not great.
Factoro mentions that all of the, I think it was the GBA Castlevanias just got released together in a trilogy on the Switch.
It's the
that-
Mishima
love.
Corporation. The Mishima Corporation.
Thank you.
See, I was a Mortal Kombat. I never played Tekken.
The controls for Mortal Kombat always felt so stilted and not fluid. Like they've changed it in the later games, but it's just like everything was just nothing.
If you
flowed.
don't, yeah, if you want a combo, you have to know the combos because otherwise they don't flow.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned this to you before, but with June, because I would practice, right? Because you'd go through the commands and figure out which moves.
Yes, the training mode. I love training mode.
I figured out there was a way to, as long as you didn't get hit, you could have a nonstop combo with June.
Yeah.
Because some of the moves you could just do. And I still to this day, I know how it starts. I know the pattern. I could probably do it. I don't know if you've experienced this, but do you feel like the PlayStation 5 remotes like almost lag a little?
I have not run into that, but I
The
had that problem
controllers?
like crazy on PS4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like all the time.
Do you have a nice TV, Al?
Yes.
That's why. This is what I've heard, and I had to, when I was looking up best settings for my TV or whatever, apparently there's some mode that you will have a slight degrade in graphical quality, but will reduce reduce input lag, essentially.
Okay.
So
okay. I think that's what we've run into, because I know Sean, when we play Ghost, because the timing of trying to parry, he'll usually play on the PlayStation 4 while I'm playing on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And he cannot parry out here on the PlayStation. He just can't. And there was one thing you could try to do to upgrade a weapon or something, or purify a cursed weapon, and you had to parry and kill a certain amount of times, and I couldn't get it. And I was like, I know I used to be able to do this. I can't do it now.
It's possible it's the input lag, and it only happens on nice TVs.
Okay.
So check that out.
It's one of the few really nice things we have.
But when I upgraded my TV, that problem occurred for me also.
I just mentioning, I didn't want to be a huge D-bag, but the Wheel of Time trailer came out today, right? And we watched it on our very nice TV. And our nice TV, I don't know if you've noticed when you go into Best Buy or Target where all the TVs are, and they are playing television shows you're familiar with, where suddenly it doesn't look as good. It looks like it's filmed.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so I almost think it was a mistake to watch it. I told somebody, did you like the Wheel of Time trailer? And I said, no. And I wanted to say, I told them we made the mistake of watching it on our TV instead of our phone or our computer. And someone was like, what does that mean? I was like, I didn't like it. But I didn't want to sound like a jerk and be like, well, our TV is really good, and Wheel of Time, it's really bad now. I didn't want to be but the infinite combo.
Yeah. Okay.
You press back on the the what am I trying to say? The arrows, not the analog stick. So you press left, circle, 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 and June does the kicks down, and then you press back and then X, so she does her backflip thing, and then you press circle 3 times, and then square and circle, triangle, and then I think it's square and circle or something like that again. And then you just start it over. You just start pressing circle again 3 times. And you can just do it over and over again. She does her 3 kicks. And it's hard to block because she goes low with her kicks, high with her punches, low with her kicks, high. And it's very, it's an annoying move if I can get it started.
Yeah. Now you're going to go to Evo, win some money.
Yeah. Michael and Elle, ask both of you. Can Elle come and talk to us about video games again? Elle, will you come and talk with us about video games again?
Please, I would love to. In fact, I was telling Michael we should do something over on my channel and then shout out his channel so that people can hopefully find it. And because I feel like there's so many of us who do book videos who are also big fans of video games. I don't know if you've ever had this problem where if you do happen to make a video game video on your channels.
Michael and I did before we started this channel. That's what we did. We did a 4-part, our top 10 RPGs or something.
So I remember doing a video of, if you like these books, check out these games. And somebody commented, I don't care about video games. I'm here for the books. And I was like, why'd you click on this video then?
No one commented.
I didn't get any of those comments. I got more
all of the comments that I got, I've done multiple. I did a Mistborn adaptation as a video game one, and then the one I was most excited about was when Brandon Sanderson on his channel did his top 10 video games. I analyzed them all and compared them to his books. Everybody that commented on it was super cool, and they were like, "This is really awesome." It just tanked, and I did too many of them around the same time, and my videos were all performing very badly.
I try not to. I know this is going to sound like such a privileged thing. I try not to let, which I'm not trying to diss what you just said, but if there's something I really want to do and I know it's not going to get, I knew my Castlevania review wasn't going to get a lot, but I was like, I really liked Castlevania and I really want to talk about it. So occasionally I'll do something that I'm like, I know nobody's going to watch this, but I still really want to do it.
Anytime I do any collab that is not book stuff, done a board game, talk about board games, talk about video games, they don't do well. But it's like, you know what? Suck it. I'm talking about stuff. Suck it.
I will say the majority of comments on anytime I do talk about video games, and I usually do tie them to books, most of the comments are really friendly. It's just the occasional one where somebody gets upset, I guess.
When you're a professional booktuber, That's just
Only
the
stick.
stuff you have to deal with.
Let's be real though. The people whose channels, the ones that really explode, it's a lot of times because they deviate and they don't just stick to books.
No.
So it's funny because that initial step into talking about other things, you almost suffer for it. Suffer, you know what I mean? That sounded very dramatic, but your channel.
No, the algorithm punishes you. Like it
Yeah.
whips you.
And I also can't stand that because I came into doing videos just wanting to do them, not, out for, I got to try to get this many subscribers or something. But anyway, I feel bad. I feel like we aren't playing the game, and I actually do really want to get one of them, but I don't know if ever play.
I just want to I don't want to keep Alan too long. Like,
yeah, Alan, I have to be up super early for stupid work, and I still have to do stupid work tomorrow because that's my life. So
what I will say is,
I
will say thank you, Elle, for stopping by, and
so much fun.
I've said this, but I will say it again publicly. Any of the times that you are just bored and want to come on the show, you can come on the show. You have an open standing invitation.
Please.
Thank you.
Like every Wednesday we do it. Mike will be like, "Hey, Al, you want to come?" No, okay, that's cool. Hey, Al, you want to come? Okay, awesome. I'll be like, "Al, I need help in the JRPG department. I need someone to defend me."
The problem is, if I do come back, I end up playing games for a very long time. The same game for a very long time.
So does Alan.
So
we're the same things to say.
Yeah, but there's still stuff that you haven't talked about that you have played already, and usually we have video game news. Like if we filled up this thing, but there were a couple like bits of video game news because Sony had.
I always have notes. Like I have a ton of notes in case we had not been able to fill time that we could have talked. I have news and stuff that I could have filled in. So there's always something.
Why don't we try to plan a time that three of us can get together and we'll I told you, Alan, earlier that Michael and I were already planning on doing something on my channel. Why don't you join us? And then if you don't mind, Michael, whenever we do it, we can just talk about whatever video game news there is. Just like hang out, talk about video games. Yeah. It was originally going to be a Metroid video, but
I can't join that one. But
we should just have the three of us and just chat like this again.
Dude, look, that'll put more eyes on it. So I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, I think
that sounds super fun. Do you want to talk about your channel? Go ahead and talk about your channel. I cannot imagine a world where two booktubers made a video. Yeah, exactly. Two booktubers made a video game channel and talked about it on their booktube channel, and they don't know who Elliot Brooks is. But you want to talk about your channel, Elle?
Me? Do I? No. Not really. I mean,
she's a professional booktuber. She reviews books. She talks about video games sometimes. She's hilarious.
One of the best in the biz.
Exactly. So yeah, but I can't imagine I cannot imagine you could find this channel and know who she is. Alan, you want to talk about your channel?
Oh, again? Okay, I have a channel. Yeah, if y'all you've probably seen this already. It's Library of Allenxandria. You cannot find it on YouTube if you search the Library of Allenxandria. Just search Allenxandria and it'll pop up. Otherwise, YouTube's going to say, "Did you mean the Library of Alexandria? Here's some videos about that." No, just type in Allenxandria. It'll be fine.
I always do Allenxandria Game of Thrones.
Oh, there you go.
My friend Jess, I think you probably know her. She's in one of our chats. Jess Owens. Every time I'm looking for a channel, it's like, "Did you mean Jesse Owens?" It's like, no. So I kind of will go Jess Owens BookTube. So
yeah,
brings her up.
Anyway, because I was going to do a surprise guest, Elle is not linked below, but I will change that once we're done with the video. There's audio version of this podcast. If you don't have time to watch a video, it's on all of the audio or all of the podcast platforms. Follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram. We're still working on getting a schedule together for actually doing like live gameplay and or streaming, but that is coming. I'm working hard behind the scenes on my end on some of that stuff.
You need to let me know what I need to get equipment wise to be able to do that, Michael.
Yeah,
I want to know too.
Yeah, that'd be so
that works. I can share all of that information, and until next frick. Somebody gave me a good outro to use. Last week when I said we didn't have an outro, Chris gave me one. I don't remember. Until next time.
Circle, right? It's press X for revolution. Press circle for cancellation. I don't know.
It was something else, but then it was like it was like Viva la Revolution at the end. I don't know. Oh no, we kept Factor up. I told him that it was my goal to keep everybody up late and sleep deprived like me.
You've succeeded.
Yeah. So
Meanwhile, it's almost 9 o'clock my time.
So lucky. I wish
thank
we
you
had-
guys for watching.
Thank
Until
you.
next time, we love you.
Revolution X.